Hello and welcome to ANAB's complimentary webinar, ASTM E30 Forensic Sciences announces a reorganization and new processes for increased stakeholder engagement. My name is Melanie Ross and I will be the facilitator of our webinar today. Our presenters are Agnes Winokur and Laura Hernandez. Please note that we are recording this webinar, so it will be available for viewing in the future. Some logistics before we get started. Due to the number of attendees, everyone will remain muted for the duration of the webinar. Please enter any questions you may have into the Q&A box. We have planned time at the end of the webinar to answer any of the questions that are asked. About our presenters today, Dr. Winokur has over 26 years of experience in forensic sciences. She's the chair of the criminalistics section of the American Academy of Forensic Sciences, as well as the OSAC Seized Drugs Subcommittee. She's also a past member of the International Scientific Working Group and a chair of the Standards Developing Organization, ASTM E30 Forensic Sciences Committee. Ms. Hernandez has over 17 years experience in forensic sciences. She's a member of several professional organizations, including AFS, CADA, IAAI, ASTM, and OSAC. She's the vice chair for the E30 Committee on Forensic Sciences and the chair for the E30 Interdisciplinary Subcommittee on Forensic Sciences. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Agnes and Laura to present.
Thank you, Melanie. It is a pleasure for myself and Laura to be here with you today, this morning. We also want to thank ANAB and ASTM for hosting this webinar. Before we begin, I would just like to have a quick disclaimer. Any opinions provided in this presentation are those of the presenters and not necessarily those of the Drug Enforcement Administration or the U.S. government. Next slide, please. During this webinar, we hope that you are going to gain more insight into the role of ASTM E30 in the development of standards for forensic science disciplines. We're also going to hope that you learn about ASTM E30, its activities and its impacts, and about the changes that are going to be done for the E30 subcommittees and its processes, and gain some insight on the current state of standards in forensic science, as well as explore opportunities for participation in the standard development process. Next slide. So standards in forensic science, they're not meant to replace forensic science providers' procedures, but more to enhance their performance by reducing variability, eliminating redundancy, and eliminating waste. They can increase efficiency, but also by facilitating the assessment of false positives and false negatives, we can increase reliability of results and thus the public trust. Next slide. So how does ASTM E30 fit into this, this design to help with the standardization? We have OSAC, we have the SWIGs, or the Scientific Working Groups, and OSAC is the Organization of Scientific Area Committees with their discipline-specific subcommittees. So here's a diagram so that you can see that many of the actual drafting of standards or sometimes can happen at OSAC, at the actual SWIGs, or even at ASTM. Once the OSAC has certain documents drafted, and they have OSAC proposed documents that can go into the registry, these also come sometimes, depending on the discipline, to ASTM E30 as the SDO, or the Standard Developing Organization. Once they're submitted to the ASTM's process, changes could take place to those drafts because they're going through the consensus-based process. Same thing with SWIGs. Some of the SWIGs concentrate on doing recommendations, guidelines, and best practices. If they are then submitted to an SDO, they could very well change some of the wording or terminology that's used in the standard as it goes to the consensus-based standard process. Okay, next slide. So what is this consensus-based standards process? Well, I think this diagram kind of shows you a little bit how standards can start from existing guides, protocols, and practices, right? Those are sort of the foundational documents that standards can be built on. And then you can have a technical task group that is formed to address a specific topic and start drafting a standard. Those are your subject matter experts. But then it goes up to a wider pool of subject matter experts, where more questions are going to be asked. Is the standard realistic? Can it be implemented? These are all important questions to ensure the proper implementation of our standards. And then it goes to even a broader range of stakeholders so they can review these standards. And these are some of the specialty groups, such as statisticians or human factors or legal from the legal community, where they're going to ask more questions. Does it meet the needs of the forensic community? What is the impact that this standard is going to have in forensic sciences? Once all of those comments and all of those stakeholders and groups are put together and having those discussions and a draft is finalized, then the standard is placed for public comment. Now it increases the ability for the public to give his own input and comments for the document. And there the public will be asking questions such as the reliability of the standard, or where's the public trust? Is it increasing the public trust in forensic sciences? Then once those comments are received, then more discussions occur and adjudication of those comments. So all views are considered. All negative votes, all comments must be adjudicated. And once all of that entire process is done, and sometimes it goes through the process several times, then you have your published consensus-based standard, which is a reflection of through efforts resolving different views and input. Next slide. So one of the unique things that ASTM offers is that it has a nice diverse group of stakeholders who can give different perspectives, and they can balance the diverse interests and representation. So when we're at ASTM, we may have practitioners, we may have the legal community, the industry, the specialty groups, and practitioners are going to talk about the challenges that they are seeing as they're working in forensic sciences, their protocols, their best practices, while the legal community may be asking about reliability and uncertainty and acceptance by the forensic community. All of these are different perspectives. Industry are going to be looking more on, you have the educational researchers or the manufacturer. What are the products that are being used, and how do they impact uncertainty, or how do they impact reliability? As well as the specialty groups. Are you thinking about bias? Are you looking at the different ways to calculate uncertainty? The quality groups. Do you have controls? All of that information and all of those different perspectives are discussed in ASTM. That's one of the wonderful advantages of ASTM. Next slide. So ASTM E30 on forensic sciences right now has 350 members from 12 different countries and has jurisdiction of 90 plus standards. Some are published and some are brand new that are being worked on. And the committee has many different kinds of standards. They have best practices, guides, specifications, terminology standards, and test standards. Next slide. Right now, how the E30 subcommittees are set up is that you have criminalistics, you have E3011, which is interdisciplinary forensic science standards, E3012, digital and multimedia evidence. We have the executive subcommittee and a terminology subcommittee. I'm going to tell you in the next couple of slides how that is going to change and why we're making those changes. So as mentioned before, we have about 350 total members. Out of those, we have 252 official voters and 98 non-official voters. And in another slide, I will explain a little bit more of what the difference is between official and non-official voters. Next slide. So ASTM technical committees are classified and balanced in accordance with ASTM regulations to ensure that no one party or interest dominates the process. So just like I mentioned earlier, not only do we have that input and those perspectives, but we're ensuring that balance. So members are classified according to their primary activity of their voting interests. There are 4 available member classifications: producer, user, general interest, and consumers. So producers, they produce or sell material, a product or a system covered in a committee or subcommittee scope, while the user purchases or uses the material, product, or system or service, or covered in the subcommittee or subcommittee scope. And the consumer is the primarily purchasers or represents those who are using the product and services of the committee or subcommittee. And then a general interest. Next slide. So to further distinguish ASTM standards development process, to show that it's fair and balanced, the voting process. So all ASTM members have an equal vote and equal voice in the development of technical standards. Fairness is ensured through balanced participation among producers, users, general interest, and consumer members of an ASTM standards committee. It's open, it's transparent, and it's balanced. So we have a consensus process that are the hallmarks of ASTM to ensure the quality and integrity of ASTM standards. Next slide. So as promised, to explain what the differences are between official and non-official voters. So every main and subcommittee allows for 1 official vote per voting interest. So the members' voting interest already has been granted by the organization or the organization's subsidy, in other words, the office. So if you have an official vote to create balance and you represent that organization in that particular office, then another person in that same office can still participate and vote, but they will not have an official vote, but they can still vote. So what is the difference? So if they can vote, when is it that it's not an official vote? It's only at the time when a negative is going to be deemed as not persuasive, and so a rationale has to be balloted. It's only in that particular ballot that non-official votes will not be counted. But during the review of the standards, all votes matter, whether it's official or non-official. So all of the negatives are adjudicated, all of the comments are reviewed. This ensures that balance and ensures that we are all working together and collaborating into making the best standard that we can. Next slide. So new standard activity and revisions. I just wanted to show you quickly that for ASTM, we can determine if a new standard is needed, identify key stakeholders, identify the committee and subcommittee so that we can register a work item, get approval from the subcommittee chair, and start writing or drafting of that standard. We also have revisions. So all of ASTM standards are revised every 5 years. They could be revised sooner. So this is very unique to ASTM as compared to other SDOs. We can't do revisions at any time. And we do not have to, if we're going to make a revisions before the 5-year mark, we can ballot just the section that is being revised, making things a little more expedient. Next slide. So this is how the technical subcommittees stand as right now, like I mentioned before. So one of the changes that we have done is that E3001 criminalistics is now breaking into separate discipline-specific subcommittees. Next slide. And here are the different subcommittees. So interdisciplinary, E3011 will stay, and the subcommittee chair will be Allison Getz. E3012, Digital and Multimedia, Subcommittee Chair Doug White will also remain. And E3092, Terminology, with the Subcommittee Chair Karen Resnick, will also remain. And the new subcommittees are E3013, Ignitable Liquids and Explosives and Gunshot Residue, with Subcommittee Chair Laura Hernandez. E3014, Cease Drugs, with Subcommittee Chair Ann Slaymaker. E3015, Trace, with Subcommittee Chair Jennifer Remy. And E3016, AI and Machine Learning for Forensic Sciences, and I will be the subcommittee chair for that one. And finally, E3017, Scene Evidence Collection, subcommittee chair to be announced in the future. So why are we doing this? We are hoping that by breaking E3001 into various subcommittees, we can increase membership participation by creating smaller, more focused, discipline-specific groups. And we're also strengthening the alignment of E30 subcommittees with stakeholder organizations such as OSAC. And by having these smaller groups, we can enhance the standard development process by creating, by focusing on the smaller group process itself and then streamlining that. Hopefully increasing the engagement of the subcommittee and moving standards through the ASTM process a lot quicker. Next slide. So right now, under E3014 Cease Drugs, these would be the standards that will be moved to this subcommittee. These are currently under revision. E1968-19, which is the microcrystal testing for cocaine. 1969, the microcrystal testing for methamphetamine and amphetamine. 2125, microcrystal testing for PCP and its analogs. E2329-17, which is it is an interdisciplinary document, but the part that is being worked on in Cease Drugs is the annex, which is the annex for Cease Drugs for E2329-17. E2548-16, the guide for sampling Cease Drugs for qualitative and quantitative analysis, and E2AA2, which is the guide for analysis of client lab drugs evidence. All of these have been set for ballot in February, and some of the last ANSI comments have been coming through, so you should be able to see the next ballot for these in early May. Next slide. Under this subcommittee, the new work items that are being worked on and being moved to this subcommittee are the development of the EIMS libraries for Cease Drugs, test method for the qualitative analysis of Cease Drugs using FTIR, uncertainty estimation of quantitative measurements in Cease Drugs, a test method for Cease Drugs using GCMS, a standard practice for the intralaboratory blind quality control program specific to Cease Drug analysis, and finally the test method for the analysis of fentanyl-related substances using GCIR. Next slide.
So interdisciplinary is a subcommittee that houses standards that are going to impact multiple different disciplines. So these are going to be things like your reporting and opinion standards, or things that deal with quality assurance or training. And they're going to just be a little bit more impactful within the laboratories, because quality assurance is going to play a part in a role in every single discipline. And so the standards, for example, like the 3255 that deal with quality assurance and chemical analysis, is going to impact several different groups. So they will have an overarching standard, and then at the end of them, they will have separate discipline-specific annexes. And that provides additional guidance for disciplines to understand, in addition to the requirements within the main body of the document, how is that going to look? How do we apply that information within our discipline, or provides additional requirements that are not found within the standard? And so it allows it to be a single document that can be melded or molded to meet the needs of the different disciplines. What you're seeing right now are a set of the standards which are currently under revision. So at ASTM, we have documents that are constantly in flux. We have some that are completely approved and are active, and then we've got ones that have been active in the past, which is what you're looking at here, but they're undergoing additional revisions to meet current industry standards. Next slide. In addition, we have new standards which are coming into place. For example, if your laboratory or your discipline wants to implement something like an ASV standard, this is a document that's going through the balloting process right now to help give guidance on setting up that type of process within your laboratory. We also have a forensic integrity and standard practice for forensic science testimony, and these are going to be balloted several times, but they're currently in the process of going through this balloting, taking information and feedback from all of our different stakeholders and improving them to get them approved as new standards. Next slide. Digital multimedia is one of the subcommittees that is staying the same, but it has a lot of standards within them. So, for example, we have current active standards for audio laboratory setup and maintenance, forensic digital image processing, and facial recognition for automated performance. Next slide. But there's also a fair amount of work going on within that subcommittee for standards that are undergoing the revision process as we speak. And so again, you're going to be looking at seeing ballots come through the process that are going to take an already active standard and change or improve the requirements so that they meet the standard of care, which we are currently being asked to provide. Next slide. And there's also a set of brand new standards that are going through the process. You're going to see a lot within this subcommittee for facial recognition, some information on how to capture photography, both for just regular imagery and post-mortem, I believe I saw. Go ahead, next slide. Here we go. And here are some additional ones, like they actually have a lot of new standards that are going through the process as we speak. Go ahead, next slide. Ignitable liquids is another one of those. It's one of the subcommittees or the new subcommittees that have a fair bit of standards within them currently. So we have ones that are active, like your solvent extraction, your separation of headspace vapors, and terminology for fire, debris, and explosives. Next slide, please. And then there's also information about gunshot residue and how to analyze them via a variety of different techniques, including SEM and polarized light microscopy. Next slide. Under revision, we have some pretty important standards that are going through the active revision process. If you do fire debris, you hopefully are aware of the fact that 1618 has been slated for a very large and massive update since OSAC first started around 2014. Those documents are actually going through the balloting process right now. 1618 is actually getting divided up into 3 separate standards, and all of those standards are going through the balloting process as we speak. In addition, we've updated most of the other extraction methods, including 2881 and 1412, to meet current needs. Next slide. We've also added standards or our balloting standards that are addressing gunshot residue and smokeless powders. And so you're seeing some of that in these slides as well. There's also a new guide on the last slide. There was at the bottom, you're going to see a couple of guides that are going through for fire debris and explosives and gunshot residue. Those are either currently in the active balloting process, so they will be coming henceforth, and that's to help you understand where individual standards work in an analysis flow. And so they're very handy for helping you understand how the different standards within these disciplines work together for identifications. Next slide. There's also a lot of new work that's coming out for this particular subcommittee. So we've got a lot going on with gunshot residue and another standard coming out of 1618, which is reporting of ignitable liquids. But there's also the reporting results for explosives. Next slide. And again, some more information on OGSR and how to collect primer gunshot residue. Classification, sorry, scrolled for a second. Classification of ignitable liquids is another one that's coming out. It is a brand new standard that came out of 1618 and is now going to be a standalone document. And we're starting to see the individual training standards for the different disciplines. Sorry, next slide. Trace is the other one that tended to have a lot of standards within them. So part of that is because there's so many subdisciplines within trace that it's a very voluminous subcommittee, or will be. So you've got active standards that are covering things like dyes and textiles, glass examination, paint, fibers, hairs. All of those are going to be located within the trace discipline subcommittee. Go ahead, next slide. We've got more about physical fit matching, geological soils. So if you're trying to figure out color matching or collection of soils, so you can actually get valuable information back from a soil collection analysis. There's information available in a standard for that, along with some more training programs for things like tape and paint. Next slide. Just like fire debris and ignitable liquids, there are a lot of documents coming out for trace that are under either revision or development. And that's what you're looking at on this particular slide. Lots about fiber analysis, tape examinations, paint analysis, and all of this is being looked at to increase the standard of care and bring it up to meet current industry standards. You'll notice that a lot of these that are under revision right now tended to be the 2017, 2018, 2019 year designations on our standards. Next slide. And just like ignitable liquids, Trace has a lot of new standards that are coming into the balloting process for us to get feedback and get them approved as new standards. More information on training and appropriate training for fiber analysts, more about the collection analysis of glass samples, preservation of trace evidence, and more analysis type of standards that are practices or test methods. Next slide. One of the newer subcommittees in general is going to help condense down all the standards we have for scene collection. So we have several of them for how to collect and preserve evidence for sexual violence and sexual assault cases. But this is also where we're going to have some more generally applicable standards for scene collection. Things like how to document and store and retrieve evidence within a laboratory, or how to physically label your evidence. These are some of the older standards that are within ASTM, and they serve as like a foundational backbone for a lot of the other standards within the different disciplines. And they keep us from having to put that same information in, you know, standard after standard after standard. And so some of these are going to be really, really helpful for the people who are doing scene collection and preservation. Next slide.
So one of the newest subcommittees is the AI machine learning. Now, as AI machine learning is increasing in the world, right? Forensic science is not far behind in that they're also beginning to look at how to leverage AI machine learning for forensic science disciplines. So this subcommittee will hopefully provide guidance for AI development and use specifically in the different disciplines in forensic sciences. So we are hoping and calling for experts to join this subcommittee who may have that interest. You know, the first few things that we're going to start looking at are governance, terminology, framework, So governance is your policies and procedures whenever you're developing AI systems, because you want to take a look at the risk, ensure that those risks are mitigated in relation to the data. So basically how is that data accurate? How is it secure, and how is it trustworthy? Because that's what the algorithms or machine learning outputs are going to be based on. So this is a brand new subcommittee that doesn't have any standards yet, but we're pretty excited to start the kickoff. Next slide. Other things that we're going to be doing to streamline the processes in E30, I'm going to talk about in the next couple slides, but I just want to gather the overarching concept, which is about streamlining. We want to be able to get everybody's perspective and all the different diverse interests and participation. So to do this, we need to increase that communication and collaboration so that we can publish our standards quicker and they can have more impact in the forensic community. We have been working on increasing flexibility for ASTM standards. So ASTM Form and Style Book, that is a guidance book. It is really up to the committee in ASTM to determine how flexible they want to be in terms of adherence to the ASTM Form and Style Book. So we will try to create as much flexibility as possible to ensure that the standards still being accurately interpreted and can be implemented, right? When we're drafting standards, the idea is that they are then later implemented. And we want to increase standardization in terms of what questions are coming from in relation to drafting of standards, in relation to the implementation of standards, so that it can, from those questions that we answer, we can also learn and teach others. Next slide. So how would this look like? So one of the things that we have already started in January of this year is that we have monthly technical contact meetings. So standards are shepherded through the ASTM process through technical contacts. These meetings with the technical contacts, regardless of which subcommittee, allows us to be able to answer any questions they may have. Sometimes regardless of the standard or the discipline, the question could be very much the same from one technical contact to the other in terms of the style and format of the standard. We will have agendas for these monthly meetings in the future, and we will have guest speakers like our editors coming in so that technical contacts can ask all questions that they may want. And that should hopefully increase communication and the streamline processes, because we're moving through these challenges quicker. During these monthly technical contact meetings, we also hope to assist in the adjudication of negative votes. And we have created a uniform way to help with the adjudication of these negative votes or comments that are being reviewed. And that's what you see on the screen. And we've shared that with our technical contacts. And as long as it's some sort of, follows a similar format, then we're able to assist in the adjudication. Again, moving the standards quicker. We will have a frequently asked questions published to ASTM E30 site under the committee documents for E30. That's what you see also on the slide. You'll see the bylaws, the staff reports. We have a guidance document for technical contact and sub-chairs, which is going to be revised this year. We have a standards tracker, which is maintained by Allison Getz, and it's a great way to see where your standard is and during if it's at ANSI or in which ballot it is. It's available there for everyone to see, and soon we will publish there the frequently asked questions. In the future, we're also going to be preparing to do more webinars for outreach and collaborations, just like this one, and also in the international for international participation. Our partnership with other agencies, other organizations such as the American Academy of Forensic Sciences, we are partnering with them to do different standard webinars. So we're going to choose, we have already been discussing and choosing which standards in different disciplines are having quite a bit of impact in the community, in the forensic community, and we will be doing webinars in those, starting with those standards, and how to interpret them, how to implement them, etc. So we're very excited about what's coming in the future. Next slide. One of the things that we anticipate that we will be facilitating our technical contacts to take advantage is the ASTM's interlaboratory studies. So the interlaboratory study department at ASTM actually will assist DTC in designing an interlaboratory study, in how to identify the samples, in how even to solicit volunteer laboratories. I mean, these are incredible resources available to E30, and with having the smaller subcommittees, the subcommittee chairs are gonna be able to assist even more our technical contacts to take advantage of these resources, so that we can start looking at, our error rates, our bias, for our standards. So it also helps with shipping expenses, even reviewing the data, and then compiling information and having a report. So we're very excited about these resources, and we want to have more technical contacts use them. Next slide. And it's very simple how it works. It starts by just creating an interlaboratory work item, and then interlaboratory ASTM staff will start meeting with the technical contact to develop a study plan, and start discussing how the data is going to be seen, how the data is going to be reviewed, how it's going to be evaluated. They will do the statistical processing. So it's very exciting, and this is something that we want to do more of in the upcoming years. Next slide.
So one of the things we've worked really hard to do is to create a hotline email, and the address is located on your screen or displayed on your screen. And the intent of this is really to help bring a unified voice out to questions that are coming in from our technical contacts or other stakeholders in general. As information changes, it can sometimes be difficult to get the latest and greatest information on how to handle a situation. Or if you're a technical contact, you might run into something and maybe you're not quite sure from ASTM's perspective, like what may be the best way to handle that, or what resources are available to help you navigate that issue. So in addition to the monthly meetings, the technical contacts QA email is another way for you or our technical contacts to be able to reach out to us and get a more concise and consistent answer out from the executive committee. And so we are hoping that we will see this particular email used a little bit more often and get some really good questions coming in and help reduce some of the stress and frustration that can sometimes come with being a technical contact or doing standards development in general. Next slide. And then the last thing is we could always use involvement. Being involved within the standards development process is a lot of work, but it is actually a really great way of genuinely understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it. For individual people, it has some great side effects of membership. Not only do you understand the standards and how they're supposed to be applied, but you would get the ability to interact with some really amazing people and can expand your network to get really expand your network to include people who are really going to be able to be mentors, or at least that's been my experience. But as laboratories in general, supporting the involvement of standards development is just a really, really great resource for your staff to maintain their proficiency within the use of the standards, and to really understand the whys and hows we're doing it, and to make sure that you are staying up at the level of standard of care and stakeholder, the standard of care that were needed by the field, by everybody, including your bench analysts, your quality assurance people, your court systems. And so we encourage and would like to see people like not only join, but to be actively involved as a technical contact, and providing feedback to us so we can really get these well-rounded standards we're looking for. Next slide.
I also want to remind everybody that on July 9 through 10, we are going to have our kickoffs with the new subcommittees, our virtual committee week, basically, how we refer to it in E30. So we want to encourage everyone to attend if you can, and get to meet your new subcommittee chairs, and concentrate on these different discipline-specific standards. So key takeaways from this webinar is hopefully you can see why, if by breaking it down to the different subcommittees by discipline, you can see how many different standards, how many different are in revision, are active, are new. By separating this out, I'm thinking that the entire exec is thinking that we're going to be able to increase that participation, keep moving these standards, move even quicker, and attract you guys to come and join us, because you'll be able to choose what is it of interest to you, and come join us, come give us your input, and let's make the standards even better. Our monthly technical contact meetings, we're going to keep enhancing those. We have also made some more changes as of December of last year. We have now monthly ballots. So it used to be only a few times a year. We now have them every month. And we've done that so that we can time our ballot with the ANSI process at ASTM of when that standard gets pinned to go through the ANSI public comment period, so that we can take our standards through the process as expediently as we can. So we have basically done these monthly ballots to be aligned with their timeline, and we don't lose extra time waiting for the next ASTM ANSI pin for the public comment period. We have a standardized adjudication form. We have done that so that we can help with the adjudication. The exec, we've been around for a long time. We've been working on these standards for a long time. Many of our members have been in ASTM for over 20 years, and they can also help with the adjudication of negative votes, and help us move the standards forward, as well as a standard tracker, so that we know where is it in the ANSI process, where was it last balloted. One of the other things that we've been able to do is working very closely with ASTM accreditation, is to now we're going to be getting a summary of all the public comments that have gone through ANSI process for every standard that is being balloted, so that we can have a more a better grip on what needs to be adjudicated, and we can work together to move these standards forward. So we are very excited of all of these new changes, and we keep enhancing them as we hear from you, and from our membership, to how to make, what are the challenges that they're seeing, and we work very hard to overcome those. Next slide.
Excellent. Thank you, Agnes and Laura, for that great presentation. We've had a few questions come through, but I want to give you all some time to add questions to the Q&A if you have any. So I'm going to go through some additional resources that are available for you as accredited laboratories or just laboratories in general. We have many different media to further your understanding of standards, accreditation, management systems, and assessments. On our website, we have a few free webcasts on a variety of different topics. They're about 5 to 20 minutes long, depending on the topic, and you can view them at any time. We also have a blog page that has a wealth of information related to risk, standard requirements, and many other topics. We also do these webinars monthly. Our webinar next month will be on leveraging internal audits for continual improvement. Finally, we offer training in many different areas, including internal auditing and other topics. Most of our training is live online or self-paced, so you can find all of our different training offerings on our website at anab.ansi.org. Now I'll bring Laura and Agnes back to answer some of the questions that have come in. So our first question is, who are producers, users, and consumers in the forensics process? I can see how manufacturers can be producers, but forensic scientists can also be producers. How does ASTM classify criminal justice stakeholders in these categories?
Thank you, Melanie. Well, that is a great question. So for ASTM, for under this classification, right, the users are actually your forensic practitioners, because you have these standards and they're the ones using them, right? How do you do microcrystalline tests for cocaine? So they are actually the users. The consumers are for example, your attorneys, your legal community. They are consumers of these products. The producers are your industry, and then the general interest is all the other individuals that don't fall under those categories. So this is in terms of ASTM classification.
Great, thank you. The next question is, can anyone access the committee documents, such as the standards tracker, or is it only ASTM members?
So for ASTM standards, you can get them through the OSAC site. But for the tracker, that's more for ASTM members, because it's more to help them to kind of shepherd the standards. They're the ones who are working on the standards, so that they know where it's at, and their task group, the technical contact, their subcommittee. So that's why those are only available for the ASTM members. For standards, you can, if you're not an ASTM member, you can obtain it through the OSAC website.
Okay, that makes sense. So another question that came in that I think you may have just answered is, do I have to be a member of ASTM to be involved in E30?
So if you want to vote, you have to be a member of E30, unless there are some other honorary membership that can be given, but those are special type of situations. So you do need to be a member if you want to vote. If you just want to work on a standard, then I recommend that you contact one of the subcommittee chairs, and you can work in a task group. In other words, I am a technical contact and I have a standard that I'm working on, and I have members of ASTM E30 in my task group. I can have a member of not ASTM, but a member maybe of OSAC or of a SWIG in my task group, or someone that was just very, very knowledgeable in the area, in that particular area that I'm working on in the standard, very much wants to give their input. I can bring them in as a technical contact to work on the standard. They just will not be able to vote.
Okay, and then how can someone join E30 16?
If you contact me, so that one I am the subcommittee chair. I am more than happy to make sure that you get into the subcommittee. What will be happening very soon, okay? Because these are very recent changes in terms of we had to get the numbers for the new subcommittees. Is that E30 membership will be getting instructions on how they can start switching or selecting their new subcommittee. Since E3001 will no longer be in existence, how they will now can choose if they want to go to Trace or if they want to go to E3016, which is the AI machine learning. So all of those instructions will be given to E30. If you're not a member of ASTM E30, then obviously you will not be receiving those. If you still want to be somehow involved, then please contact me and we can explore more options.
And can anyone get involved in the virtual committee week?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that, I mean, that is open to E30 members only, unless you are working on a standard that maybe your technical contact can share with you. And the reason for this is that during these committee weeks, we're drafting our standards that are really ASTM properties, so they're kind of copyright, and that's why it's maintained within the E30 community as they're working on these documents. So right now it's open for E30 membership.
All right, so next question shifts gears a little bit. It says, in the future, will ASTM provide proficiency testing programs similar to other ASTM committees? Have ILS been performed to assist with precision statements, reproducibility, and repeatability in standards?
I think that is something that we can explore in the future in terms of proficiency tests. Has ILS been explored in the past for ASTM E30? Yes, I had 2 ILS work items myself open. There are some logistical, depending on the discipline, that we might have to overcome. But I think that the more we encourage the use of these resources, the more that we can overcome the challenges as we work through them. So yes, it has been used in ILS, but we did run into some issues that we weren't able to completely complete the entire study, but we're going to try again.
The next question is, will there be any changes to the free access to applicable forensics ASTM standards for staff that work at FSSP?
FSS, hold on, let me read that. Is this FSSB?
It says P in the question.
I'm thinking it's a FSSB.
So for OSAC FSSME members, so we did offer 2 affiliate honorary memberships, and that was taken by 2 individuals working through with OSAC. So I wouldn't say that necessarily like a blanket offer that it will be for everyone, but I think that we can work together with OSAC to identify which individuals would benefit both organizations to create a better, increased communication and collaboration for our standards. We definitely want to hear from, from these organizations, from these stakeholders, and hear their comments. And if we can get them more involved in ASTM, we will do everything we can to make that happen. We have already offered, we have offered more than 2, but 2 have been accepted. These are honorary affiliate memberships, which means that they do not have to pay.
So Agnes, there was actually a clarification that I saw in the Q&A, and it was for the service providers. And so it's asking, I believe, if I'm interpreting this correctly, they're asking whether or not we will still have access on the OSAC webpage to access standards if you're not an ASTM member.
Well, I think that's available through OSAC, right?
Yeah, I believe, yes, I believe that's a contract through OSAC.
Okay, so the next question is there an expected timeline for the release of the new 3 ASTM E1618 methods?
I get that question all the time, and the answer is as fast as we can get those comments adjudicated. So the classification document right now is going through the final stage of approval. Once it's approved, it actually can't get released for public consumption because until 1618 itself, which deals with the instrument methods and interpretation of fire debris evidence, gets approved, we would end up having two conflicting or potentially conflicting classification systems within ignitable liquids, and that's not okay. So our hope is, crossing fingers, that by the end of the year, we'll have 1618 itself going through the process. We are going to be putting another ballot out here, hopefully in May. I believe I'm waiting for the ANS comments to come back from the last ballot, and I've already started adjudicating some of those comments on the backside to make sure that the next ballot for 1618 goes out as soon as it can.
Right, and then we had another comment for the previous question. It says OSAC has enjoyed a collaborative relationship with ASTM E30, and ASTM has enabled free public access to ASTM E30 standards on OSAC's registry. Just what you had already mentioned. The next question is, are there plans to include biology?
So I will say this: any discipline that will be interested in having their own subcommittee, I encourage that they contact us so that we can invite them to come meet the exec, and they can give us an idea of what scope would be for that particular subcommittee, and what are the type of standards that it would cover. And then from there, we can continue having those discussions.
All right, so then the next question is, how does voting work for an organizational member?
Voting. So so if you are in an organization that has more than one person in ASTM, only one is going to have the official vote. But that doesn't mean that you cannot vote. In other words, and let me just clarify that it's the organization and in the same office. Some organizations, let's say laboratory systems, can be very large. And so you might have two individuals with two different official votes depending on their offices. But let's say that it's a one laboratory organization and more than one person is an ASTM. One will have an official vote. Both will be able to vote on standards and give their negative comments, be able to share any input they want to share. Only in a ballot where, let's say, when the comments are being adjudicated and the negative votes are being adjudicated, and one of those negative votes, the technical contact is now balloting a not persuasive rationale, that is when only the person with the official vote will be the vote that will count. So even if both individuals vote, only the one with the official vote counts. Hopefully I clarified that.
Makes sense to me. The next question is, can you be a member of two subcommittees?
Absolutely. And we encourage you, if there's more than one there, like you'll see many of us that are in multiple subcommittees, like interdisciplinary and then terminology and then whatever your discipline is. Yeah, we encourage this is all work being done as volunteers, right, in our own time. So it's up to you. If you have the bandwidth and you are willing to share your knowledge with us, we welcome you. We want to hear from you, and we will work together to to make things as easy as possible.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, we highly encourage you to participate in as many subcommittees as you feel so inclined to do.
Excellent. Agnes, is your contact number listed on the website?
It should be. Yeah, I mean, it should be on the website. Here, I can put.
You can go to ASTM's website and scroll to the committee, the E30 committee or any of the subcommittees, and it'll give you our information. If you have trouble finding it, you can also contact our staff manager, who will reach out to us if you can't find it.
Perfect. Another question about participation. Can a college student majoring in forensic science participate in the subcommittees?
So I know how both Laura and I feel about that. So Laura, did you want to say, because we encourage, go ahead, Laura.
You know what, we do not have any requirements that I am aware of that says you have to be a practitioner or a lawyer or a judge or a manufacturer of some good or service to participate. So you are free to join, even if you're a student. And strangely enough, sometimes the comments that I get from the people who are not practitioners bring to light an issue or a way of looking at a requirement that I had never considered before. So I really would encourage them.
Yes, that's that diverse input that ASTM is looking for. Someone else asked, where can I get the ASTM E285722 standard guide for validating analytical methods if it's not available on OSAC?
I would have to look that up to see if it's active. It should be available. If the person who's trying to obtain it, they can also email on that technical contacts Gmail that we put up there in one of the slides. I'll have to go and see why it wouldn't be available. All our active standards should be, if it's an E30 standard, should be available through the OSAC registry.
Okay, and I can follow up with that person as well once you take a look on the website. And then the very last question that we have is biology already covered by ASB?
I think it depends. If biology means serology, I mean, then I'm not sure right now on top of my head, but I think so. It might be covered also by ASB. That's why for anyone that's interested in a subcommittee, we encourage that they come and meet with the exec and tell us what scope it would be, and we would have those discussions and see how can ASTM help, that we're not duplicating efforts, but instead we're working together to enhance and strengthen forensic sciences in the U.S. and abroad.
All right, well, I want to thank you again, Agnes and Laura, for presenting and answering all of the questions that we had from the audience today. If you'd like additional information about training offered by ANAB, you can contact us at training@anab.org. If you have any questions about accreditation or any other questions about this webinar, you can send those to anab@anab.org. And if you can't find Agnes or Laura's contact information on the ASTM website, you can contact us as well at that ANAB@anab.org, and we will get your message over to them. Thank you all for attending. And again, the recording will be available on our website shortly.